How's it going, troops? And today I am here to reflect and go over my 2024 goals, or so I thought, because I can't actually do it. I just can't bring myself to do it because I am a massive pussy. And I sort of knew this video was going to be coming for a while now, and it was probably around October where it kind of hit me. And I was just starting to kind of think about the year and how it went up till that point. So I started thinking about the goals that I'd set myself at the beginning of the year. And so I don't always set myself tangible goals, and that's because I am pretty dedicated and committed when it comes to my work ethic, and I just sort of prescribe to the theory that as long as I just continue to turn up and work as hard as I can, then I'll achieve the maximum result that I can. Going into this year, I was just planning on doing the same, but I think it turned to like the 1st or the 2nd of January, and I thought, you know what, it's a little bit hypocritical of me because I'm always getting my clients to set goals, and it probably should be something that I do myself, and it should hopefully just give me that extra little bit of intent to work towards stuff this year and just obviously always put my best foot forward. So I took 10-15 minutes and sort of thought what I wanted to achieve this year, and I just wrote them all down on this little bit of paper, and I put it just in the bottom of one of my drawers. And I didn't look at it the full year, but then when I was just sort of doing that little bit of reflection on the year so far, I sort of realised that a lot of these goals that I had set myself, I wasn't going to hit. A lot of them were kind of like past the point I'd be able to hit them, and I started thinking, like, I don't actually know how many of these I have actually achieved. And I couldn't bring myself to go and look it out, and anytime I was in the office and looked down at that drawer and I knew what was in there, I was just kept dwelling on the fact that I really think I've fallen short of the mark this year in terms of what I wanted to achieve, and then coming on and making videos and talking about my goals and what I achieved and didn't achieve this year was going to be pretty embarrassing. And that's why I'm not even going to tell you the goals that I set. Again, I've got them all written down here. Got a combination of some coaching goals and the ones that I wanted to achieve, got some training goals that I wanted to achieve, some just personal goals. And I set myself 11 goals this year, and out of the 11 goals that I set, I've only hit 3 of them. And I was going to talk through them all, and I just can't. I've just got here and sat down, and I was just like, I just can't do it, it's just too embarrassing. And I'll fully concede that makes me a bit of a pussy, but I'd like to think on the flip side that when things do go well, I'm not like the biggest bragger in the world, I'm not big-headed, so hopefully that kind of balances out me being a little bit of a pussy now that maybe things haven't gone so well and there's nothing to brag about. But it's just in some ways been a really, really disappointing year. And some of you may be thinking, and I'm only saying this based on the conversations that I have with people and some things people say to me, oh, you're killing it, you're doing this, you're doing so well, this, da. And you're a bit confused about how I'm sitting here coming to you saying that I've actually had a bit of a bad year. I mean, I've had a bad year in the sense that the targets that I'd set myself and where I thought I'd be further along in certain areas of my life haven't come to pass, but I certainly don't think it's a bad year. Like, I certainly don't think I've really regressed at any of the major areas of my life that I wanted, and things aren't worse. They're maybe just not quite as much better as I thought they were going to be. And that's a sore one in a lot of ways, because when you feel like you put a lot of effort and time into what you do, and you do make certain sacrifices in other areas of your life that maybe should deserve a little bit more progress. There's a few things on this list that kind of like ripple onto each other, and it was like if this one thing didn't happen, then there's quite a few other things that probably weren't going to happen. So you could almost, you know, frame it in a way. There was like a top goal that got missed, and as a result nothing else really worked out that way. But anyway, shit happens, and it is what it is, I suppose. So anyway, why the fuck am I even making this video when it's clearly something that I don't want to talk about, and there isn't really much actually to talk about, and I'm just kind of like not actually telling you anything and giving you any information. And really it's because there is a few lessons that you can take from this. Even in my somewhat misery, I'm happy to try and use that to just help you guys just take steps forward in your own paths. So first of all, I don't want this to discourage anyone from setting lofty goals for themselves, and I am, what I think anyway, I'm quite a realistic person, and a lot of the goals that I'd set myself here were definitely lofty, but they were just at like the highest end of realistic as I could think of. I don't think they were unachievable by any stretch. It wasn't like something ridiculous that was just going to take a massive streak of luck to ever actually have a chance of happening. All the stuff that I've missed were all stuff that were definitely achievable this week, and even though I have aimed pretty high and fallen short and I'm a wee bit disappointed because of that, I've still been able to achieve some pretty good things, and there is that saying about aiming for the moon and finishing on the stars, or something along those lines. You get the point I'm trying to say. You aim high and you don't get there, and you're still at a pretty decent level. So don't be scared to set really lofty expectations for yourself, but just make sure that you are realistic with your expectations, and don't just like be delusional. Like, for example, put it in a training context for you guys. If you're a 100 kilo bencher and you say, oh, I want to bench press 150 kilos within 6 months, like, it's just not going to happen. So again, that is only ever end up in disappointment. So make sure that you do actually set goals that are pretty tangibly achievable. And in terms of being realistic, I want to make it clear, you're absolutely entitled to nothing. You can have the best plans in place in the world and try really hard, and I wish I could sit here and tell you that that would just make your goals happen, and most times it will, and it maybe will happen, but it'll take you a little bit longer. And to further relate this back to training and what obviously you guys are watching me for, sometimes you can't have the best plans in place in the world and you do everything perfect and you've put in all the effort in, and sometimes it just doesn't come off, and it just doesn't happen, and it's really shit. I say this so many times, my whole job is about actually putting the plans in place and predicting and preempting things that are going to happen to get you feeling your best on a certain day, or looking your best on a certain day, or whatever it is. You can plan all you want, sometimes it just doesn't happen, and you know, you have those days where you build up to a 1 rep max and you go into it feeling like you should be at your strongest and training's been on a great run, and then you just go in and just shit the bed. And that's happened to many of us at time, and that's obviously a really specific example, but just understand that, again, you can't always have things your own way, and things aren't always going to go for you. I wish I could tell you that you were going to be entitled to all these amazing results and the progress that you quote unquote deserve, and most of the times you probably will be, but sometimes maybe it doesn't work out like that, and you're not really entitled to anything, and if you are, it's maybe just going to take longer than you think it's going to take. So now moving forward, what am I going to do in 2025 that stops me being in this same position next year where I set all these goals and I've fallen short of them? Well, what I did the other night is I spent 2 full hours goal setting for next year, and that wasn't just like a list of things about what I want to have achieved or where I want to be by this time next year. This was that plus all the steps it's going to take to get there. And obviously that starts off with reflection of this year, what went well and what didn't went well. Obviously, you know, having to be critical of yourself. I then wrote out all my goals and I broke it down into coaching, training, personal life, and maybe a few other ones that were scattered in there, and I actually wrote almost like the micro steps it's going to take me to get there. And I'm not going to go into the guts of it, but the reason I'm telling you this is because I've spent a full 2 hours doing that, and I know for a fact that a lot of you guys watching this who say you're serious about stuff in your life, whether it be training or your work or your business or whatever it may be, I bet my life that the majority of you won't spend more than 5 minutes like doing something like this and writing out 5 pages worth of stuff of like what you want to get to and how you're going to get there. You'll probably do something of what I done and just wrote out a list, and you know, that's fair enough if you've actually been able to achieve a decent level of success this year, and that's what works for you. But if you're not achieving what you want to achieve and you just continue with the same attitude and showing the same apathy, you're probably not going to get there. And I'm leaving no stone unturned to make sure that I'm getting where I want to be this time next year. And it will take more effort and commitment and maybe a bit more sacrifice, but for me, that's worth it. And if you want to have a successful year, not just like better than last year, but hitting really lofty targets, then I suggest you think about having your attitude as the same as that. So I appreciate I never really gave you much there, and I'm sure a lot of you would just have wanted to know what was on this bit of paper, and I maybe will share it one day, hopefully in a position where I'm in a little bit better and further along, then I can say, oh, by the way, see that time I told you how shite it was? This is actually what had happened. But I'll be honest, as I said, just a wee bit embarrassing for me personally, and I would have loved to have come through and spoke about everything and like done almost like a end of year type of thing and showed you all the highlights and stuff like that and all the wonderful things I achieved, but fortunately sometimes it doesn't work out like that. But anyway, next week's video I've got planned is going to be a good one. It's going to be a total change of tune from this week, so don't worry, and I think that you will enjoy it, or hope you enjoy it anyway. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and I will catch yous for one more this year.